Welcome everyone to ASAN's 2025 Gala. This year's theme is the state of autistic advocacy, then, now, and beyond. We're celebrating and learning from our past work, evaluating the current state of the movement, and looking forward with hope and determination. Because of our community's support, we've been able to continue our work, like our Taylor McGee Grassroots Mini Grants, named in honor of former ASAN staff member and activist Taylor McGee. Every year, our gala is an opportunity to support and celebrate self-advocacy. It is an honor and a necessity to recognize the work of self-advocates and of the disability community at large, because our work is only possible with our grassroots. We can only do this work together. We continue to celebrate and gather virtually in a world that has moved past COVID-19 while it is still very much a threat. Tonight, we are gathered to celebrate our community and applaud the remarkable work of our awardees. For many of our awardees, this work spans years or even decades. Thank you so much for being here with us. I want to thank all of our sponsors this year. You can see our gold, silver, and bronze sponsors on screen now, and all of the other sponsors you can find in this year's program. Your generous support truly makes a difference for ASAN. This year's theme, the state of autistic advocacy, then, now, and beyond, gives us a chance to look back on the work that got us here, as well as look at our current environment and see how we can move forward together. It is now my pleasure to introduce ASAN's Executive Director, Colin Killick.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us tonight for the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network's annual gala. Tonight, we look back at the history of the autistic self-advocacy movement, celebrate advocates taking the lead today, and rally ourselves to fight for a brighter future. Last year, I had the privilege of getting to introduce myself to all of you at this event, just before starting as ASAN's Executive Director. I don't think any of us could have imagined just how tumultuous and challenging the last year would be, but I'm so proud of how our staff and our entire community has risen to the occasion. Since day one, the Trump administration has made the autistic community a target of dangerous misinformation and disastrous policy decisions. Instead of having serious conversations about healthcare, autism policy, and the needs of our community, it has brought back lies about the causes of autism that we thought were settled decades ago. Lies about vaccines and everyday medication like acetaminophen put everyone's health in danger, especially marginalized communities who already face staggering health disparities. People of color, elders, young children, and people with disabilities are now at risk for diseases that have had safe, tested vaccinations for years. When the government spreads lies about autism, these lies put the autistic community in danger. They threaten our access to health care, our right to make choices for ourselves, and our right to live in the community. The administration has also falsely claimed that autism destroys people and their families, and that autistic people cannot do things like writing poetry, playing sports, working and paying taxes, or falling in love. We know that is not true. We know that autistic people are not destroyed. We know the world is full of autistic people, including those with high support needs, who do all those things amazingly, from non-speaking poets to policy experts with intellectual disabilities. We know that autistic people fall in love, and we will keep fighting for the right of people in our community to have relationships and raise children. Most of all, we know that whatever laundry list of activities they can or cannot do, the life of every autistic person is worth living. The autistic self-advocacy movement cannot be stopped by attacks on our healthcare or flimsy lies about us. This year, ASAN has fought hard alongside our allies against the return of bad science pretending to be good healthcare. Our team has stayed at the front of the fight. We loudly opposed RFK Jr.'s nomination, rallying alongside other disability and healthcare organizations that saw the danger here. Each time RFK Jr. has tried to push junk science as truth, we have raised our voice, and the community has answered our calls. Autistic self-advocacy work will always be a cross-movement fight because we exist everywhere. Autistic people are in every community, across all races, classes, ages, sexualities, and genders. Our policy team continues to work alongside other movement leaders to protect the rights of all autistic people. This year, ASAN has spoken out often against political attacks on the transgender community. Many of these attacks try to use autistic people as an excuse to deny transgender people life-saving healthcare and the right to control their bodies. This ableism and transphobia cannot be allowed to go unchecked. Each time we have pushed back against these dangerous lies, we have felt you pushing alongside us. You answer our calls for action, use our scripts to help tell your stories when you call your representatives, and submit your calls to our proxy caller system to make sure your voice is heard. ASAN is proud to work alongside each and every one of you. We know the fight is hard right now, and not every battle is a victory. Many organizations, including ASAN, joined in a coalition to fight the reconciliation bill that contained historic Medicaid cuts. Our policy team put in countless hours pushing for change on the Hill, knowing that all of you were fighting right alongside them by calling your representatives. I am deeply proud of our policy team and of every one of you that reached out to your members of Congress to protect Medicaid. I am proud of our cross-movement work and how our relationships with other self-advocacy organizations have become stronger through this effort. We are incredibly grateful to the members of Congress who joined us in the fight to protect services that make their communities healthy and strong. Sadly, not enough members of Congress listened to their disabled constituents, and the Medicaid cuts passed. ASAN is deeply disappointed by this failure to protect our communities, and we hope these members of Congress will remember their responsibilities to the people they represent. We did not win, but we are not lost. This fight continues at the state level, with important work to be done to protect people with disabilities from cuts to Medicaid. ASAN will be there with resources and information to make sure self-advocates know their rights and what they can do next. Protecting our community's rights and safety has led ASAN to build new partnerships this year. As the climate crisis puts our communities in danger with rising temperatures, we have worked with the Partnership for Inclusive Disaster Strategies to keep people with IDD safe from heat emergencies, thanks to funding from the WITH Foundation. We've also worked with protection and advocacy organizations across the country to defend the voting rights of people with IDD through education and resources. Since the current administration continues to leave autistic voices out of the conversation around autism, ASAN has turned to the news instead. This year, ASAN representatives have been interviewed by ABC News, NBC, PBS, NPR, The New York Times, The Washington Post, Bloomberg, and the BBC, to name just a few. Every time misinformation has been spread about our community, we have spread the truth through the media in highly visible ways. We are grateful to journalists who help us fight back against reckless lies that hurt our community, and I want to highlight the work of our amazing communications team in getting our voice out there. Even more importantly, our community has come together. This year, ASAN joined with other autism advocacy organizations to remind the world that autistic lives are rich, vibrant, and worth living. We promised that we would fight against lies that hurt our communities. This promise became an unprecedented joint statement, bringing together organizations that often don't see eye to eye, but stand united against the administration's fear-mongering about autism. We then staged a major forum that brought together self-advocates, family members, and researchers to tell the government what our community actually wants from federal autism policy. As the administration now pushes their ridiculous claims about acetaminophen causing autism, we will continue to counter their messaging and make sure the public hears the truth. But the autistic self-advocacy movement is not complete without all of you. You are the self-advocacy movement in all its beautiful strength. This year, we have reached out in new ways. On social media with short videos, by expanding our Autism Campus Inclusion Program to students in Mexico, and through our back-to-school guest speaker series. Every time we have reached out, you have answered us. We have seen more marathon runners than ever before put on their sneakers and race to raise money for ASAN. Experts heard our call to speak for our back-to-school series and were as eager to share their knowledge as you all were to learn and to support our work. In these uncertain times, your monthly gifts to our membership programs help put resources in the hands of self-advocates. This event has gotten multiple major news sponsors, as well as longtime friends who stepped up their contributions to help make sure we could stay in this fight, and we are so grateful for their support. We see you, all of you, working hard alongside us. We see you in your generous donations, in the record number of guests at our webinars, in all the downloads of our toolkits. We know you are scared. We know you are angry. And we know you believe in a better future for the autistic self-advocacy movement because you are here, right next to us, fighting for it. Everything you have done proves what our community is capable of, that we have not been destroyed by our autism, and that our community will not be destroyed by lies and stigma. 2026 will mark ASAN's 20th anniversary. Even with everything that has happened this year, it is still remarkable how far our community has come in the last 2 decades, and we know that we will accomplish more in the years ahead. The road to a future where autistic people are safe and free to love, to find joy, and to live in our communities is uncertain right now. We do not know what twists and turns will happen next as we face these old lies dug up from the grave. While we cannot tell what the path will hold, I know we will reach that day because we are here together, working and dreaming of that future. Thank you for joining us every day in the fight and tonight as we celebrate our community.
We will now begin our 2025 Gala Award Ceremony. We're excited to recognize this year's remarkable awardees for their service to the self-advocacy and disability community. We will start with the Nothing About Us Without Us Award, given to self-advocates whose work fights to make sure that our community's voices are being heard everywhere, that discussions impacting our lives are being made. This year, the Nothing About Us Without Us Award goes to Autumn Launer for their tireless work supporting both the autistic and trans community across Texas. We want to highlight their work in this space, as it is often thankless, but also life-saving. And now we will hear from Autumn themselves.
Is it possible to speak for someone if you can't experience their world? I mean, how do you explain the sensation of freezing to a fish that has never left the tropics? How do you explain the hum of electricity without words to articulate lightning? How can you explain the sky to a seed that has been buried in the silence of the earth since before it knew itself? We always seek to explain, but never ask, why is knowing so important? If language is a map, then how could I use it to explore lands I can never reach? How could I claim to know the fear of being kidnapped by ICE when they would never stop to ask for my papers? How could I comprehend the oppressive weight of white supremacy when white supremacists look at me and see family? How could I possibly know the generational horrors caused by colonization when I am the descendant of colonizers? I can't. I won't pretend to. The myth of individuality is the greatest lie humanity has ever believed. Under this myth, independence is the anthem we hum as we cower from mutual responsibility. Solidarity is impossible because we extract lies for consumption. Truth is a resource so rare, so precious that only a fool would dare freely share it. I cannot know something I cannot comprehend, but I can choose to be that fool. We can choose to give our trust to those who guide us through a land we could never individually explore. For generations, they have spoken our erasure. Their words became our memories, and the echoes of the past became the only future we could imagine. We are made of that which tried to incinerate us. What failed to burn away our future warms the waters of tomorrow. We inherit silence, yet silent unity thunders in louder than the lightning bolts seeking to splinter the world we yearn for. What was buried in silence grows roots that carry us higher than those who buried us could dream. For hope is a seed that dreams of forests older than itself. I cannot know, but I can hope. I cannot know, but I can trust. I cannot know, but I can choose. How do you explain universal connection to a world built on individuality? You don't. You accept it. Nothing about us without us means all of us together. The loud, the silent, the joyous, and the somber. The future is an echo that arrives before the sound. Nothing about us without us means thank you all for the honor of being part of this journey.
The Loud Hands Award for Autistic Storytellers seeks to honor autistic people who are telling stories, fiction or nonfiction, that are making change. This year's Loud Hands Award goes to Chuck Tingle for his work in fiction and satirical spaces. Through his work, he has shown great support for his community, and we are excited to extend this award to him. Please join us in hearing Chuck's award speech.
Hello, buckaroos. Chuck Tingle here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the Loud Hands Award for Autistic Storytellers. I am a huge fan of Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. I have been a fan for a long time. Over the course of my career, I've done various books for nonprofits, types of things, charity drives, different things. And without fail, anytime that I do something for ASAN, I get buckaroos in the comments saying, this is the best. We love this charity. It's wonderful. So to have this long history of, working with you all on that is really beautiful. To end up here and to accept this award, it means so much to me. I just appreciate so much, and I love our shared history, and I love that these timelines have led to this moment. It's so beautiful, so moving. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and let's keep trying together and proving love. Thank you.
Our next award is the Creating Community Together Award, given in recognition of autistic people who are working to grow and strengthen communities in various ways. We are honored to give our first Creating Community Together Award to Fed Up Collective for their intersectional work in advocating for better access to more person-centered treatment approaches for those with eating disorders. As the autistic community has a disproportionate crossover with the trans community and those with eating disorders, this work is crucial for the autistic community to thrive. In their work, Fed Up works to make sure treatments are informed by those with lived experience. Join us in listening to Fed Up's acceptance speech.
Thank you so much to the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network for giving this award to the Fed Up Collective. I'm speaking today on behalf of the collective. And I just want to say that as a team and organization that's dedicated to centering and delivering services by community for community at the center of our mission and in everything that we do, it means a lot to be recognized by an organization that is built by and for autistic people and follows this same model. The Fed Up Collective is a community of trans, gender diverse, and intersex people that are in or seeking recovery from eating disorders, whatever that is defined for them as and whatever that means. In addition to being trans and intersex, most of our team members are also autistic or otherwise disabled or neurodivergent. And we know what it means to live at the intersection of identities that the world keeps trying to pathologize, fix, or erase. Speak on behalf of, and remove the autonomy from. For us, when we talk about recovery, it's about accessing or creating safety and belonging, finding each other and building care systems that actually fit who we are, and holding spaces where no one has to leave a part of themselves outside the door in order to be given access to their rooms, as we know happens so often in healthcare for our community members. We work hard to make visible the parts of ourselves and our community that are consistently ignored, whether that's through our support groups, whether that's through our advocacy, whether that's through our trainings. We're always trying to do more work to make that part more visible so that others don't have to, in a genuine way. We're also particularly touched by this award, the Creating Community Together Award, because so much of our work and our priorities are about building our community in a lot of small but powerful ways. Not just for our online support groups for trans and intersex people who experience eating disorders, but also through our dietitian match program to increase access to dietitians, for our trainings, and for our online spaces where people can just connect, be seen, know that they're not alone, and know that they don't have to carry the burden of explaining or being who they are so often. Each piece of that work is about growing connection because we know that isolation kills and community heals. So community and connection are so important for us right now. For us working as a team, working with each other, for the people working and using our services, and for the organizations that we collaborate and work with. Right now, it's really hard to trust who we are safer with and what's going to happen to all of us. And so finding that community and connection and knowing that it's genuine and real and there is so important. That's been the driving energy that's keeping so many of us going, and for everyone in our team to fight not only for our own lives and safety, but also for the people using our services. Right now, autistic people are facing renewed attacks in the US. We're seeing the return of old myths and pseudoscience, the same pattern of fear and control that have long targeted people of color, trans and intersex people, fat people, and people with disabilities, and anyone who lives outside the norm more generally. We know that our communities deserve care, not correction, and that's what we're committed to building together. None of our identities exist in isolation. We can never be explained by one member of our community, and we all live in many diverse ways. And that also connects to our liberation. Our liberation does not exist in isolation. We need all of each other. So the more we come together, the stronger we are. So thank you again to the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network for recognizing us, for knowing us, and for reminding us that community needs to be something that we keep tending every day together. And we're really grateful to have you in ours. Thank you so much.
Our second Creating Community Together award goes to Clean Air Club Chicago. Since this pandemic began, the autistic community has felt the brunt of poor policy and planning. Clean Air Club Chicago's work providing education and resources in Chicago and beyond has set the example for how we can continue to combat the spread of COVID-19 and protect our communities. Let's hear Clean Air Club's remarks on their award.
On behalf of Clean Air Club, I want to express our immense gratitude for being awarded the Creating Community Together Award. For those who aren't familiar with us, Clean Air Club is a grassroots organization by and for disabled people, providing clean air supplies and radical education to artists and organizers across Chicago. Our mission is to target the indoor spread of airborne viruses, including COVID, to reduce the incidence of death and disability in our community, as well as increase access to community events for the most vulnerable among us. We reject the back to normal pandemic response ushered in during the Biden administration, and instead embrace a new model of public health that regards our most vulnerable community members as the benchmark for what accessibility must look like today as the pandemic rages on. What the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and Clean Air Club have in common is a rejection of the eugenic ideology that has been at the core of the American enterprise since its founding, and which we're now seeing reach a fever pitch. In 2020, we saw doctors sacrificing disabled people when faced with the scarcity of medical supplies in COVID-overwhelmed hospitals. Today, in 2025, we see a general population that has also given up on masking and clean air, tacitly endorsing the very policies which we rejected only 5 years ago. The truth is, though, that autistic people are still at higher risk of developing COVID complications and long COVID. Disabled people in general are still at higher risk of death and worsening disability with each new COVID infection. We're not out of the woods, and the longer we ignore this, the more today's eugenics movement gains steam. Unfortunately, autistic people, and especially autistic people of color, are at the front lines of the eugenicist attempt to erase disability by erasing disabled people. We see this in discussions of cures, of camps, of cleansing the population. When we listen to the voices of disabled people, though, what we learn is that disability is a feature, not a bug, of the human condition. Disability is our entry into interdependent care, mutual aid, and the resilience of the human spirit. Disability involves suffering, but it also involves seeing behind the curtain of what society tells us is true about us. We see that we're worth more than just our productive capacity, that each of us has a life worth living. Together, as advocates, we can all push back against a system that disables us and then tries to disappear us. We can insist on a life on our own terms, on the value of neurodiversity, and on the possibility of a future built with disability at its core. Thank you again for this wonderful award, and solidarity to everyone working to liberate disabled people worldwide.
The Harriet McBride Johnson Award is one of the oldest awards we give. It is named for disabled author, attorney, and disability rights activist Harriet McBride Johnson, and is given to those who embody her writings on life and the disability rights movement. This year, the Harriet McBride Johnson Award goes to 2 individuals. First, the Harriet McBride Johnson Award goes to Imani Barbarin. Her continuous work through social media platforms has brought inter-community dialogue about racism and ableism to the front of conversation in our shared communities. Her breakdowns on RFK Jr. have been specifically helpful in fighting against the dangerous narratives about autism and disability in general that have been coming from the federal government. I will now turn things over to Imani for her acceptance speech.
Hello to the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, its members, its staff, its self-advocates. Thank you all for this honor. My advocacy work could not be made possible without the community that surrounds me, including the disabled people that are under attack right now, specifically autistic people. We all know that eugenics and ableism have been the underlying culture within the United States. However, things have turned dire within the last few years. Disabled people, autistic people have been under attack from every single angle, both silently and as loud as can possibly be. Now is not the time to shrink away from the personhood and autonomy and self-direction that each disabled person, autistic person, is entitled to in these United States. Whether it is ableism that is promoting racism or racism that is promoting ableism, we cannot afford to shut one another out. We cannot afford to not listen to one another and the needs that we each have as community members in this space. The road ahead of us is extremely long and difficult. The road ahead of us is long and exhausting and will come with a lot of hurdles. But I am encouraged by the disability advocates and history that has come before me, the disability advocates that are my peers, as well as the disability advocates that are learning each and every day how to stand up for themselves and their communities. Whatever your skills are, you belong in this movement. And being autistic and disabled is nothing to be ashamed of. And when things get difficult, look beside you to self-advocates that have at least some things figured out. Maybe not all. But I can promise you that together, we will be a force to be reckoned with, because we always have been. Thank you again.
Our second Harriet McBride Johnson Award goes to Day Al-Muhammad for Renegades. This series pushed past the standard narratives on disability, bringing attention not just to disabled historic individuals, but how their stories are part of a piece of a larger picture of the disability experience and struggle. The highlighting of guardianship specifically relates to our current state of disability rights and our continued and collective fight for justice.
ASAN's award for Ally to the Autistic Community is given to people who support the autistic community, but also understand the importance of listening to and connecting with autistic people, and ensuring that autistic people are part of both the conversation and the fight. This year's award goes to Allegra Heath Stout for her continued support to our Autism Campus Inclusion Program. Allegra's ability to instruct has made skills that are incredibly hard for so many autistic people approachable. With her ongoing commitment to the disability movement, she has helped build self-advocacy foundations for autistic advocates and other disabled individuals coming up in this space. Please join us for Allegra's remarks.
Thank you so much for this honor. Although I'm not autistic, I was lucky enough to first enter disability movements through Autistic Community and Wisdom, back before I fully understood that I was disabled myself. I'm grateful to Ari Naaman for introducing me to the worlds of disability rights and neurodiversity back when we were teenagers. And I'm grateful that years later, he thought that I had something to offer to autistic college students and invited me to present at Autism Campus Inclusion. And I deeply appreciate all of the ASAN staff since then who have kept bringing me back year after year. I particularly want to thank Zoe Gross for trusting me to teach ACI participants about using one-on-one relational conversations as an organizing tool, and for working with me in great depth to design a training that would be both accessible and culturally competent for autistic college students. It's also been a pleasure in the last 3 years to work with Ava Gerber as a co-presenter about building student groups. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to work with each year's ACI cohort and to meet incredible up-and-coming autistic leaders. I'm grateful to each of you, as well as to autistic organizers I've trained through my previous work at Join for Justice, for trusting me to teach you and learn alongside you. Your work upends ableist assumptions about what it means and what it looks like to be a powerful, effective organizer. I've spent my career in disability movement organizing, training organizers, and other movement roles, and I have so much respect and appreciation for ASAN's role in our movements. ASAN's combo of political education, cultural work, and hard-hitting policy advocacy are exactly what we need right now. The rest of us have so much to learn from ASAN, as well as from other autistic leaders, such as Lee Sinchen Chung-Sung Brown and Leah Lakshmi Piepshna Samarasinha. Now, more than ever, solidarity across disability groups and solidarity with autistic people in particular is crucial. With the Trump administration spreading lies about autism, slashing funding for services and supports, and threatening even more attacks on autistic people and other disabled people, we need to rally behind ASAN and other autistic leaders. As Emma Lazarus put it, until we are all free, we are none of us free. Finally, fuck ICE and free Palestine. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for our 2025 Gala. It's always an incredible opportunity to honor the work our community has done throughout the year and celebrate with you all. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to growing even more with our community in 2026. Have a great night.